With Jake and Fulton coming to you on a Victory Friday. Oh my goodness, a Victory Friday. And what a Victory Monday it could be. Welcome into Mic'd Up, Jacob on Fulton Caster with you. K-State fans, this is your time to yell and scream and puff up your chest and brag and taunt. You can do any and all of that if you want to, especially here on this day here in the state of Kansas, and especially on the show, Mic'd Up. Let us know your thoughts after what was an absolutely epic game. All Kansas State does in the Sweet 16 are play just incredible basketball.
They just play
games.
nothing but bangers, man.
Just
nothing but bangers.
Incredible. Lots to get to. We're going to talk plenty of K-State and Michigan State. We will hear from the Owls, who they will be taking on the Kansas State Wildcats. Their press conference coming up at 1:45. K-State players will speak at 2:40. 580 Sports Talk will air Jerome Tang's press conference. So a lot to get to. We'll talk a little Chiefs, a little bit of Royals. The Royals made some moves today and some news. We'll get to all of that, but let us know your thoughts, K-State fans. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, very easy, 785-272-9429. Did you ever lose hope in the game, K-State fans? Did you ever think, man, it's not going to go our way when you're down in overtime? Did you think, oh, gosh, it's just not going to go our way? Let us know as well. Check us out on YouTube, Sports on 580. Check us out on our website, 580www.com. Let us know in the comment section as well. From the comment section, Ema, congratulations to Coach Tang. What an amazing win at the Garden. The Big Apple, now they're in the Elite Eight. Exactly. That was a phenomenal game. And it was an instant classic.
It was amazing.
The last time they were in the Sweet 16, you had Barry Brown drive down the left side of the lane, lay it up and in, 20 seconds to go for the win. Then you had the Xavier win in double OT. And now you got this one in overtime. And I look at this as a guy who's 38 years old. That is an instant legacy game that I think people will remember forever if you are a true K-State fan. Because to me, as a 38-year-old, now, I was not around in the Kruger days and in the Rolando Blackman days and the Chucky Williams days, all right? I will tell you that my age group, there are 4 performances that I will remember in K-State history. Askia Jones dropping 62 over Fresno. Remember that, 94.
Yeah.
Beasley beating KU for the first time at Bramlage in like 800 years. I remember that. Pulling in that game against Xavier.
Yep.
And then last night, Marquise Noel going 2019 and then throws in 5 steals against Michigan State. That is what I will remember. That is a top 4 performance for me in Kansas State basketball history. Just like KU, you know, people remember the Chalmers shot because of just how big it was in the title game. I remember Nick Collison's 2020 game because that was when Dickie V gave him a standing ovation. You know, like those are some of the games that stand out, you know, for KU. But that's what that was last night. When you've got guys like Carmelo Anthony and Kevin Durant tweeting about you,
that's a pretty good day.
You have arrived. You
now,
are there.
When you are the front page of the New York Post, you've had a pretty good day.
I mean, it's movie script stuff that's happening when it comes to what Marquise Noel did at Madison Square Garden, coupling it all together with 19 assists. It's not Magic Johnson, all right? It's not Jason Kidd. No, the record for most assists in an NCAA tournament game goes to Marquise Noel. Think about that. That is incredible. 19 assists. And I do love the fact that he scored the last two to make it really kind of sexy to say I went 20 and 19.
Yeah, that nice little layup there was a nice little cherry on top of the sundae.
Throw that on top of he pulled a Mahomes, and apparently Marquise Noel's ankles are made out of adamantium as well, or just straight rubber. And we'll get to the game coming up against FAU here in a little bit, but he stole the show, obviously, and well deserved, because 2019 is ridiculous, and he had that offense on an absolute string. Like, he knew everything, and as they said, it was almost like Michigan State players were mesmerized. Like,
it's like they were just couldn't stop watching Marquise with what, and I think there's no better way to encapsulate how much Marquise was running the show. Think about how K-State's offense looked when he wasn't on the floor because he hurt his ankle. They couldn't do a damn thing.
9-2 run.
They could not do a damn thing offensively, could K-State, without Keith there to run the show. And then Marquise Noel comes back in, and first play he's in, they kind of mess up a dribble handoff. He comes around and off 1 foot just tucks up a three, and it bounced off the window and in.
Yeah. It was so much fun to watch. Yeah. It really, really was. And that's why K-State fans, am I correct on this? Am I correct that if you were 38 years old, you remember those are the four performances that stick out as a K-State fan? Okay, now there are performances that non-K-Staters probably, the Beasley performance against KU is good, but maybe not one that you remember. Pulling because the NCAA tournament, when and where you do them matters. And then when you drop 62, Askew Jones hit 14 threes in a game. That was incredible.
That just happens.
But what gets overlooked, because Noel was such on a absolute lava heater, is Ish Massoud had a career high at Madison Square Garden.
Good for him, man.
4 of 6 from 3, and now hit the biggest shot. All he does is hit big shots.
Apparently,
big swish-ish, man.
And that shot he made at the end of overtime to push you to a 3-point game, after Michigan State let K-State get another shot at it, because they choosing to let that ball just go out of bounds was a choice. That's not an easy play to make. No. And Ish catches it, somehow sets the feet well, falling away on the baseline. That was amazing.
He was in the zone, and when he shot that, I was like, that's good.
I
knew it was good.
And then that was probably his biggest shot of the night. His second biggest was hitting a 3 from the parking lot.
Hey. He was feeling it, and if you're a shooter, you just know.
You sometimes just getting those feelings where everything comes off the hand and it's just pure.
But so you've got Massoud goes a K-State career high 15 points. Cam Carter, despite letting everybody
shout out Cam Carter,
despite letting everybody drive by him,
despite some issues on the defensive end, Cam
wasn't great. 12 points, 5 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from deep, and then Gisan scores 11 points, 5 of 5 from the field,
and a clutch block.
And he hit a 3. I mean, look at that. And I didn't even get to Keontae Johnson, and he
led the team in scoring.
The game that he had, he threw the ball off the back of a Michigan State Spartan, grabbed it and laid it up and in.
That is a vet move right there.
Nobody's talking about that.
No.
Nobody's talking about the fact that the Michigan State Spartans got, absolutely punked by, I'm going to throw it off your back, take one step, touch the ball, lay it up and in. That game had absolutely everything. And I don't think it was bad defense. I don't think it was great defense. I just think in this game, there was incredible shot making Both teams shot, K-State shot 55%. Michigan State shot 52% from three. They shot 49%. They went 18 of 22 from the free throw line. It was a lot of great shot making. And I think a lot of great offensive plays, specifically for Kansas State, when you look at it, in overtime, the couple passes that Noel is throwing are just the one to Guisan for the layup. I mean, he threw that one-handed on a dime. You're talking about getting into the paint and always keeping your eyes open. And the other thing that K-State does such a good job of in that game was that they never watched Marquise Noel. They kept moving. Marquise Noel drives into the middle of the lane, and then you've got either Keontae Johnson cutting to the hoop or moving out to a three to find this open spot, because most all of the 19 assists that Marquise Noel dished out were open looks, whether they were, open looks for three, open looks in the paint for layups. Michigan State had no answer for Marquise Noel, and I don't think that was bad defense. K-State, I think, could have maybe played a little bit better defense in certain spots down the stretch. Yeah. But overall, I thought it was offensive guys making plays. It wasn't like, the UCLA Gonzaga first half, where there are just open dudes everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you can tell what's good defense and what is bad defense.
Yeah. What is guys not being locked in on the end and just letting easy shots go in, or what is just dudes making contested buckets? And this game against K-State, Michigan State, both sides, like both teams had moments of open shots and made them and did their work. There was also just a lot of great shot making in this game. Like Joey Hauser made a couple wide open threes. That was great. Joey Hauser also made a couple threes with the man right in his face. I mean, Tyson Walker, one of his biggest threes at the end of the regulation, had a dude right in his face.
Right in his face. No.
And he just pulled back and canned it. Like there were a lot of shots to where you just throw your hands up and go, the guys are just on one tonight.
It reminded me a little bit kind of like, Bills Chiefs in the divisional round 2 years ago.
Where you can't ask the defense. It's just perfect offense will beat perfect defense every time. And that's what was happening in this game. And it was just stellar. Every minute of it was just stellar.
And I hope K-State fans talk the talk and puff their chest out. I hope K-State fans, you're on your way to New York, because the thing about it with the Final Four, it's not it's not quite as an intimate game at the Final Four, because it is played in a football arena. It's so big, and it doesn't have a basketball feel. But Saturday against FAU, we knew it was going to be the early tip-off, because UConn Gonzaga or UConn UCLA wouldn't have mattered. They were going to be the evening game. So when K-State and FAU tip-off, it'll be 5 o'clock, 5:09 tip-off on Saturday. 4 o'clock pregame coverage right here on your home for K-State Hoops. You can get to New York relatively cheap because there's so many places that you can fly into. And the best part about New York, you don't need a car. Just use the train. All right.
Use subway.
You can fly into 4 different airports. All right. You're going to a mecca of a basketball place in Madison Square Garden. They're playing on Saturday. Fly down today or fly down tomorrow. Fly back Sunday. It's really simple. Hang out Sunday.
Just near pizza.
And enjoy that one. Like if you've got the money,
if you have the financial resources and you got the time, go see this game.
Oh, I think it would be an unbelievable
It'd be a great
trip.
memory.
It really would, because if K-State wins Saturday and at around 7:15, they win. You will be there for maybe the biggest win in K-State basketball history. And I don't think it's a maybe anymore. I think it is. Last time they were in the Final Four was 1964. Do you know how many?
A lot of things changed since 1964.
There were only 16 teams in the tournament in 1964, okay? There's 68 now.
To be one of the 4 remaining after 68 teams.
And the fact that this is the team that did it, picked last, brand new coach, 10 new guys. That's the reason why this will be, if they win Saturday. And K-State fans, you already know it. Why the hell do they always got to play a mid-major to go to the Final Four? In 2010, it was
Butler.
2018, Loyola. And now Florida Atlantic. So I think if you are a K-State fan, you have a chance to be, and there's going to be tickets there. They ain't going to be sold out.
No.
I mean, it's Florida Atlantic and K-State. So that's why I think this game Saturday has got so much riding on it. Marquise Noel, you can argue, even right now, his number will hang at Bramlage. But if K-State wins and he leads them to a Final Four,
build him a statue.
There is no doubt in my mind that Marquise Noel will be up there with the likes of Mitch Richmond and soon to be Jacob Pullen and Lon Kruger and Rolando Blackman. You lead your team to and he'll be the most outstanding player of the region.
Yeah. Have a billion assists.
To the Final Four. After what you did with everything, it's a no-brainer he's going up there. And
it's immortality.
That's incredible. I'm so pumped. I think that it's going to be, hopefully this time, third time's a charm against the mid-major.
Hopefully.
Against the mid-major. Coming up, we got your chance to win Royals tickets. We'll have a chance to win a few. Chance to get registered for opening day tickets. We will get to that. A lot of stuff to get to. We'll hear from the coaches after the bottom of the hour, some of the post-game remarks, all of that coming up here on Mic'd Up. To the arena at MSG for $140. It's cheaper than a Chiefs game.
Yeah.
$140 if you want to go to the and that is I mean, it's not lower level, obviously you're in the upper deck, but you're at Madison Square Garden watching the Kansas State Wildcats.
If only we had $140 lying around.
Well, I'm not a K-State fan.
I'm not a K-State fan, nor do I have $140 lying around.
If I was a K-State fan, this is something where, hey, you know what? You know, instead of going out and partying a whole bunch, you know, for like 2 or 3 nights, which sometimes you get to rolling, you know, spend $40-$50. Hey, boom, right there, 3 nights. That's a ticket there to go there. I mean,
this is the one where you put it on the credit card and say, this is future person's problem.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you're a K-State fan and you ain't got nothing to do, hop on a plane. Pack a light bag. You're not going to stay there that long. I've always wanted to hop on a plane with like no bags. You know, like, oh, it's just going to be a day trip. I'm going to fly here, do something, then fly back.
Man, I would feel so fancy if I could ever do that.
You know, I've never done that. I've always had to.
I wonder why, Jake. I wonder why we have never gotten to do that.
Well, because when I go places, I'm not going there for a single day.
Yeah, because we have the money to blow on just flying somewhere for a single day.
No, like there's nothing that you know that I. If I'm gonna go somewhere, I'm gonna stay for a while.
Yeah, well, you want to get bang for your buck.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna be there for one day, I'm gonna leave the day before.
Yeah,
find a cheap hotel and then do something of that nature.
Yeah,
so you can get a decent flight to Manhattan, to LaGuardia, to JFK, to Newark. Make it work. Yeah, for real. Coming up, we're gonna hear from Jerome Tang. We are gonna hear from Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson. We'll get to all of that. We'll also hear from Tom Izzo. Come on, Tom. We'll also get to some Chiefs with Adam Teicher coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Signings today. One of Patrick Mahomes' better friends back with the team. The Belldozer back on a 1-year contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. So does that mean that the Chiefs are not going to go tight end in the draft? That is kind of interesting. They already re-signed Jody Fortson. They've already re-signed or kept not getting rid of Noah Gray. So you already got 3 tight ends there. So what are the Kansas City Chiefs thinking of? You got Bell, Gray, Travis Kelce, Jody Fortson. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. They also signed a defensive lineman as well. Not going to lie to you, I've never heard of the cat. I think that's more of just a depth position going forward. But the Kansas City Chiefs have made a couple signings. We're going to talk with Adam Teicher coming up on all things Chiefs to start the 1 o'clock hour on this Friday. It does not feel like a Friday.
What's it feel like to you?
It feels like a Wednesday. Like I feel like that game was a Tuesday. You know, does not feel like a Friday, mostly because Big 12 games are not played on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does not feel like a Friday. It does not. Let's get to some of the reaction to the game yesterday. And this is what Marquise Noel had to say about what it was like having that performance at Madison Square Garden.
I just want to give all the honor and glory to the man himself for giving me this platform to showcase, my talents and my gifts. But today was a special one, man. I got to give a lot of credit to my teammates for battling, for fighting through adversity when we was down. I can't even explain how I'm feeling right now. I just know that, I'm blessed and I'm grateful.
This was a question for Marquise and Keontae Johnson. When Noel went down with the ankle injury, what was everybody's reaction? You can listen to the question and then the player's response.
Running down the court, it looked like you yelled, "This is my city," a time or two.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it is.
Just want to make sure that was accurate. And I just wondered if you could also describe the pain you were in and what it took to get back in the game and at that moment, and if Ish and Keontae could speak to what it meant when he came back in, please.
I mean, it means a lot. I mean, he's our starting point guard. His IQ, his feel for the game. He brings everybody confidence. And for when he came back, I mean, I felt like just everybody seen how he was trying to fight through his injury, and we just wanted to fight back for him. So
I just wanted to do it for my teammates, man. I just love being out there with these guys. And I wasn't going to let a little injury like this that, happens on the basketball court all the time to stop me from playing in the Sweet 16 and advancing to the Elite 8. But, man, got to give credit to my teammates for holding it down when I was out. and for battling.
How that ankle responds will be telling, because in the moment you keep that thing loose, blood flowing, then it's not going to be a big deal. But once he fell asleep for about 8 hours, he woke up, that thing is going to be stiff as a board, and he doesn't have, a week to get ready for the game like Mahomes did. All right, he's got less than 48 hours. So that will be something to keep in mind, because if he is not able to do what he is able to do, then K-State is at a disadvantage. No question in my mind. They have to have him on the floor, and he has to be humming along. Jerome Tang. I thought this was a very, very interesting question and an answer that Jerome Tang gave here. And he was asked about having Noel on the offense and what he does to make the offense go. Listen to the question, but Tang's answer is kind of different. It's more about Michigan State. We'll get to here's Tang's answer, which I think is a great answer.
How much does having a guard like Marquise and knowing that he can see so much of the court help?
Well, what really helps is that all 10 eyes on the defense have to pay attention to him. And that's what allows everybody else to get opened, right? And so it's not just that he sees it, but they all have to pay attention to him when he has the ball in his hands.
The best example that I can give is everybody is looking at Noel and penetrating into the lane, and everybody's focused on him because he is so dynamic and he's such a blur. The best play was he's driving in and it looks like he's going to go for a layup. There are 3 Spartans all around him. Okay. Johnson just goes right to the hoop, flips it around one of the Spartans, hips. Johnson catches it, lays it up and in. You lose sight of him. It's not like, oh, you know what? I'm leaving a shooter. And that's not the case, where someone drives in, you try to stop them, and then you kick it out for a 3. That's a completely different situation in my mind. Everybody has to know because he gets into the lane so easily. That's why, to me, K-State struggled early on because they jacked up fadeaways and 3-pointers and everything. K-State is good at shooting 3s when they're open in rhythm shots. Very good shots. But when you're doing step back 3s and all that kind of stuff and jumpers without even the ball getting into the paint, Noel driving into the lane, flips it out to Johnson. Wide open 3. Great 3-pointer. You take that every time down the court. When they stop doing that, that's the problem for Kansas State. But that's such a great, it has nothing to do with, the K-State offense. It's everybody's has to gravitate to Noel because of what he's able to do. I think that's a great answer from Jerome Tang. What about Jerome Tang on what it means to make the Elite Eight?
It means I get to spend a few more days with our guys. It's a huge accomplishment. I mean, this thing is hard, right? It's hard to do. And so, man, when it happens, you just have to really embrace it and enjoy it and not like take a moment, we got to take a moment and just really soak this thing in before we move on to the next thing. Now, next thing is really huge, whoever we have to play. And, but we've kind of just taken everything 1-0 every day in every aspect of the day. And so I'm really thankful for the opportunity.
And I think this is that comes off. I don't think it's I don't think it's cheesy. I think it comes off genuine. I think he does just love hanging out with his players. I think it is just something that he really is so glad, because if they lose tomorrow, they fly back to Manhattan, and the next day they're going to start checking in gear, and the next day they're going to, they're all going to kind of go their separate ways. I think that's true. I think Jerome Tang is truly pumped that he gets to play a little baby with his team one more time in the locker room and just gets to hang out with them. We hear this all the time at the end of NFL seasons. A lot of NFL players say, well, this is the last time that this team is ever going to play together. And why that's so special, because not everybody's going to be there. Nowadays, in the college basketball world, your last game is probably the last game with those teammates. Yeah. Look at KU. They already got 4 guys in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, And so I think that's great stuff from Jerome Tang. This team just enjoys playing together. And when you hear them talk about each other, and you hear Keontae Johnson at the end of in the post-game locker room where he talks about, man, that's some video game stuff, man. He drops 19 assists in a game. He's like, I can't even do that on 2K. It's almost just you shake your head about what the teammates can do. And I think that is a great culture that they've got there. And that Jerome Tang to quote, was it Steve Adazio, right? Boston College coach who's now was at Colorado State. I think he got fired.
I believe.
Right?
I believe we've been down this road before.
Just a bunch of guys being dudes, man. That's what it is.
And it is. And that's what's so great. And I mean, it is the genuine joy that you get to have this team together a little bit longer. Because, yeah, there's very little of this team is back next year. Like, a lot of these guys are graduating. They're gone. Mm-hmm. Like, Keontae, gone. Keith's gone. You don't know what the future will hold. And that's the bigger thing is it's so hard to make a run like this in the tournament. I think certain programs, certain fan bases take for granted how difficult this thing is. The more success you have, the more you take it for granted. So I don't think K-State's fan base at all is going to take for granted being here in the Elite Eight. But the idea, the larger point being, you have to make sure, fan and player alike, that you're just relishing every minute that this thing is still alive. Because this is hard to do. Mm-hmm. Jerome Tang is here in his first year as a head coach. He is the first Big 12 head coach in conference history to win his first 3 NCAA tournament games. Like, this is a difficult thing to do. There's no guarantee you're back here next year. There's no guarantee you're back here the year after that. Like, you don't know when these next moments will come because these gaps can be so large. And so I think it's nice to just, especially when you have a head coach who realizes, no, I'm going to take this one day at a time, one play at a time, and we'll worry about the future when the future comes.
Jerome Tang was asked about his team playing so much fun. They look like they're having fun. They don't look like they're playing an NCAA tournament game. I mean, you got guys, having a blast out there, and this is what Jerome Tang had to say.
They've all played this game for a really long time, and they all see the game a certain way. And my job is not to make them see it the way I want it played. My job is to figure out how they play best and then put them in an environment where they can do that. And so they know I have confidence in them. I know they want to win. And so any shot or play is made is never made with that they're trying to do something to hurt the team. They're trying to help the team. And so, we only had 8 turnovers today. So I'd rather him shoot from the logo than turn the ball over.
Okay. When I hear that, all I want to do is just punch Mike Matheny and Cal Eldridge in the face. And you're like, Jake, what the heck are you talking about? Did you hear Tang there? These dudes have been playing basketball since they're 10 years old. They have their strengths. They have their weaknesses. My job is to get them to play as well as they can with their strengths and play together. And all I know is that over there at One Royal Way, it was a dang, no, you're going to do it this way. And if you don't like it, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Tough cookies. You're doing it our way.
And that's the thing also, how the game has evolved. That's why I think Bill Self is such an incredible coach, because Bill Self, down to his roots, down to his core, his DNA, you know what I'm talking about? His amino acids. He wants 2 bigs on the floor. He wants high-low.
2 bigs, high-low, pound on the post, finish at the rim.
Yes. No, that's not the game anymore. It is about spreading it out and efficiency and threes and layups and high percentage shots and he has adjusted to that, whereas Jim Boeheim hasn't done that. There are a lot of other old coaches that haven't done that, and that's why I think that's so great from Jerome Tang going, we'll help them here or there. We'll get them to try to play, our brand of basketball with what you do well. That to me is the mark of a great coach. And then finally, Jerome Tang, this should be on a promo. Brett Yormark should just cut this from the press conference audio and put it on a commercial next year in November when the season starts. Here's Jerome Tang on the Big 12 basketball conference.
Yeah, I think we've been a basketball conference. The last 4 years we've had the number one rating, and this year I thought we had 10 teams in our league that could play in the NCAA tournament. This is not new. The last 2 national champions have been from our conference, and if it wasn't for COVID, I think it would have been the last 3. And even if you back up one, Texas Tech losing in overtime, it could have been 4 in a row. So we've been a basketball. We're the best basketball conference in the country. And the coaches in our league are Hall of Famers. And I'm just thankful to be even associated with any of them.
He's right.
Yeah.
That's the sports wise, the biggest negative of COVID was I didn't get to see, and I'm being selfish here for me, but Fulton and everybody obviously, is that we didn't get to see Udoka Azubuike, Marcus Garrett, Ochai Agbaji, Devon Dotson just steamroll teams in the NCAA tournament. Because nobody
I'm
was
still sad
that
about
team.
that to this day.
Nobody was. You want to know what's going to happen? Baylor and KU probably going to meet for the title.
Yeah, they were killing everybody at that time. They were killing everyone.
I'm telling you that, and it is. Go back to the Texas Tech. It is a basketball conference.
I'm the biggest bummer I have is that Udoka's final year didn't get to play for a national title.
I don't know what it is about this K-State team, but apparently they just stick in your craw and they just annoy you to the point where you got to act like a sore loser. Coach Cal did it already. He made amends. All's good. And then Tom Izzo on national television to Allie LaForce about the game.
That doesn't rip your heart out, Coach. I don't know what will. Walk me through that last minute.
Yeah, I'm so proud of these guys for a lot of reasons. Give them credit, but they banked in 2 shot clock threes. And they made some big plays, but some of those plays weren't big plays. They were lucky plays. And I didn't think we played our best. I think some of it was them. I think some of it was us.
Yes, they banked in 1 3. 1 out of 93 points. They banked in a couple shots and then had some lucky play. What were the lucky plays at the end of the game? What were they? Were they, the sweet dish from Noel to Gisan? Was it a well-designed inbounds play to Ish Masood who made an 18-foot jumper? Was it the quick hands of Marquise Noel that stripped your guy? What was it? Was it you guys K-State lucking them way into a free throw? Was it the 19 assists that they dished out? I don't know. What was it? And to say, well, we didn't play our best. You shot 52% from the field. And
you made 13 threes.
You made 13 threes, 52% from 3, 49% from the from the field, and you made 18 of 22 from the foul. What do you mean you didn't play your best? Get out of here. Made some lucky plays down the end. What lucky plays were there in overtime? What lucky play? The fact that you spit that, and a lot of people, I asked some people, I go, am I off base here? And somebody said this. They said, Jake, man, that's a tough spot for them to be in. They get the microphone shoved in your face right after a game. First of all, it was not right after the game. He had plenty of time to calm down. Third, he's been the head coach of this university since 1995. He's had plenty of losses. You are a grown man. And also, I don't care that it's emotional. I got microphones shoved in my face while I was bawling my eyes out after my final game of college. We're in West Texas A&M. I have to talk to the radio, and I get dragged, pads and everything, onto a platform after we just lost the game 41-40, which we led 14-0 at the half. And they're asking me about games. I'm literally crying my eyes out. Am I going to be like, yo, man, West Texas A&M are a bunch of lucky dudes? No! If 22-year-old balling Jake can handle a press conference, I sure as hope that a 60-year-old Tom Izzo can. Lucky shots. What do you mean luck? If we're talking about, then damn it, that's the luckiest 19 assists and the luckiest 16 points off turnovers. Just, oh my God, luck. Izzo's just the most unluckiest coach out there. What a bunch of garbage, man. Back-to-back games? I'm starting to wonder, it's just apparently K-State just makes you so infuriated that a 5'8" ball of swag is just dominating you.
And here's the thing. I actually think that, like, part of it is some of these guys aren't used to losing to teams like this, and they come into games like this. And
you act like a baby.
They do. I think there's legit part of this that is, listen, guys don't like to lose in general. Basketball is a game that is built on size. The bigger guy is always supposed to win. You know, the best players are supposed to be the true giants of the game. You know, you're supposed to be extra talented when you're like, oh man, that dude's like 6'7" with a great jumper and long arms. Those are the guys that are supposed to win. I can't imagine how infuriating it must be to get pieced and dissected by a dude who stands at 5'8".
But it wasn't luck.
No, it wasn't. And that's it. And listen, guys in the moment, and we're probably going to see something from Tom Izzo in a couple days that is some sort of half-hearted apology. It's whatever at this point. It's not luck to drop 19 assists. Like, watch that game film. More importantly, though, also, we want to talk about, look, Michigan State, you were making some shots that were like, man, you need a little bit of luck to get that to go in. Was it as crazy as Marquise banking in a 3 off 1 foot? No, nothing was as crazy as that. Michigan State, you made more than a few shots that they were a little bit of like, good Lord, are they ever going to miss? But you know what, Tom? It really stinks, the bad luck you had that Malik Hall couldn't make a couple of free throws. That's some horrible luck on your part, man, that he couldn't make some free throws. Or I guess it was horrible luck on the final possession of the game that Joey Hauser had a decent look but passed it. Malik Hall was nearly wide open for 3, and like a coward, he dribbled it and passed it away.
Yeah, he didn't want to shoot it.
I'm sorry, Tom, that you are so unlucky that your team wanted no part of a kind of badly drawn up final play too, that ended in a steal and a turnover. I'm sorry, Tom, that your team was that unlucky. I apologize, Tom.
Unlucky. Yeah, I mean, they made some big shots that were luck. What? Come on. We got plenty more to get to. We're going to talk Chiefs and free agency with Adam Teicher coming up at the top of the hour. We will go to Madison Square Garden. Press conferences coming up at 1:45 for FAU. We'll talk more hoops as well. We'll get to that in the 2 o'clock hour. A lot to get to coming up on this Friday edition. And in the 2 o'clock hour, you get registered for opening day Royals tickets. That's coming up here on Mic'd Up. As always, let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429, outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. We'll get to more NCAA tournament coverage. All of our tournament coverage brought to you by our good friends at Lewis Toyota, I-470 and Fairlawn. Shop local, shop Lewis. But we're going to pause a little NCAA tournament talk, and we're going to talk all things Chiefs with the man who knows the Chiefs pretty much better than anybody. He's Adam Teicher from ESPN.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Teicher. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it was not the game that you wanted last night with your alma mater following to the Wildcats. And I do have to ask one question about it, since you are a Michigan State guy. What was your kind of reaction to the game?
I guess I didn't really enjoy it as much as everybody else did, just because but it was a great game. And you know how it is with those kind of games. You look back at 100 different plays, is that if they could have made them differently, they would have won the game. So, it's just one of those deals where you're going to be thinking about it for a while, and it's going to take some time for those guys to get over it, for sure.
We asked a Michigan State beat reporter, is Michigan State a football school or a basketball school? And he said, we're one of the few that claim to be both. I'll ask you that. Are they a football or basketball school?
Well, it's pretty hard to argue with what they've done in basketball the last 25 years or so. So I'll say basketball school, but I know one of their former basketball players pretty well. He did not. When Michigan State kind of had it on a roll, or looked like they had it on a roll in football a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
went to the New Year's Six game. And they weren't as quite what they've been in basketball. I was referring to it as a football school, and he was getting mad at me. He was didn't really like this a whole lot. So it's one of those deals where I guess it depends on your point of view, but I'd have to agree with them, at least for now, that right now it's still a basketball school.
It's one of the schools, though, that can actually have an argument for it. There's not many that can say that, which goes to show you the success that they've had on both sides. Getting to the Chiefs, first thing I'll ask you, surprised that they're bringing Blake Bell back on a 1-year contract.
Yeah, a little bit. They got some depth at tight end, and he was missed most of last year, and they just sort of moved on pretty well without him. So, I think I am surprised by this, but the Chiefs have some depth, and there's no guarantee he'll make the team. I think he probably will, but let's go through camp and see how that turns out. But it is kind of an interesting move by the Chiefs, no doubt.
Is this one of those things where the same situation with the defensive tackle that they signed today, even Derek Nottie that they signed, none of this really affects how they're going to impact the draft? Because if there's somebody there who's a good tight end that comes up at pick number 31, they might draft him and say, sorry, we're going to let one of you guys go. Like, do you think it's nothing that they're doing right now, free agency wise, will impact anything they do in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if the Chiefs, see a defensive lineman or two that they like in the draft, they won't hesitate because they signed Byron Cowart today, for instance. I mean, Cowart's going to have to earn his place on the team, so in training camp. So, don't make too much of these signings at this point of free agency. These, in most cases, are going to be more for depth than anything else, and no guarantees for any of these guys are going to make the team.
Do you think this offseason has gone the way that Brett Veach kind of had the blueprint for it? Or do you think he is now on, plan B, plan C, or plan D when it comes to what he's been doing?
Yeah, no, I think they're a little bit of both. I mean, they obviously knew they weren't going to bring Orlando Brown back, that wasn't going to happen. And they obviously knew that Frank Clark was going to be released, that if they couldn't come to some kind of financial agreement with him. So, there's that. Those two things I think were kind of on their radar maybe for a while. But Juwan Taylor, I think, was kind of on their radar as the plan B for Orlando Brown, assuming they couldn't get anything done. Omenihu was on their radar as the plan B, assuming they couldn't get anything done with Frank Clark. But some of these smaller or lesser talked about signings, I think, were kind of bonuses for the Chiefs. Guys like Mike Edwards, the safety they signed from Tampa, and Drew Tranquil, the linebacker they signed from the Chargers. Those were guys that I don't think the Chiefs expected to be there for them. And when they were there, they were like, you know what, let's go out and do this. So, make ourselves better, even though, particularly in the case of linebacker, it wasn't a position of need, but the Chiefs just saw a couple of guys they liked, thought were good players, and said, let's go ahead and do this. So I think those guys basically were the surprise to the Chiefs.
The offensive line, as of right now, is it Lucas Niang's job at right tackle?
Yep, I think it is. Not to say that the Chiefs wouldn't bring somebody in the draft to challenge him, or something might happen along those lines. But yes, I think that was kind of the plan all along. We talked about the free agents the Chiefs lost, and I mentioned Frank Clark and Orlando Brown, but Andrew Wiley fits into that, and Juan Thornhill as well fits into that, and McCole Hardman. I mean, the Chiefs were expecting to lose all those guys, and that's indeed what happened. And at right tackle, that was kind of the idea that that's Lucas Niang's job to lose right now. And but again, the key word there maybe is right now, because don't be surprised if the Chiefs don't do something in the draft, bring in a tackle. But if they don't, that's kind of their plan.
We're talking with Adam Teicher, covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ESPN and ESPN.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Teicher. Wide receiver wise, Do you think the Chiefs didn't negotiate with Juju or McColl because it seemed like both of those contracts, the Chiefs could have given that contract to Juju and to McColl Hardman? Or do you think that, hey, you know what? They're kind of like Orlando Brown. You know what? We're just going to move on.
Yeah, well, in the case of Juju, the Chiefs did want him back, but not at that price. And that does surprise me because I thought at that price they would be interested, but they weren't willing to go there when the Patriots were, and so Juju said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to take the better deal." And in the case of Hardman, I think he was ready to move on and sort of make his own way somewhere else and see what it was like out there. I think the Chiefs would have taken him back, but were prepared to lose him. And obviously, with the smaller offer that he got from the Jets, a relatively small offer he got from the Jets, the Chiefs weren't that interested. So, it was kind of an interesting situation in both cases.
Everybody's talking about Odell Beckham Jr. and DeAndre Hopkins right now. I seems like something gets discussed about those two with the Chiefs every single day now. Is it more so their age, or is it the money? Which one do you think is the bigger factor? Because it seems like Brett Veach doesn't want to sign anybody over the age of 31, and he doesn't want to do that. Or is it the money aspect of it? It's a combination of both, but is there one that leans more heavily than the other?
Well, I think it's the money. I mean, the Chiefs would take either guy at their price, but their price is going to be probably in both cases, a lot different than what the player's price is going to be. You look at, you're right. I mean, the Chiefs have had the philosophy with Brett Veach as their general manager, and they've been rewarded for this philosophy, that they're not going to spend big money on guys who are old. I mean, they're all the big money they've given to free agents under Brett Veach have been to guys who are still relatively early in their careers. We're talking about guys like Frank Clark, who was relatively young when the Chiefs got him, Orlando Brown, Anthony Hitchens, Sammy Watkins, Tyrann Mathieu, and those guys were all relatively young players when they came to the Chiefs. And that's why the Chiefs were comfortable giving them good money. They thought, and rightly so, at least in some of these cases, that the guys had their best years ahead of them, and or at least some good years ahead of them. But you can't say that for Odell Beckham right now. He's going to be 31 here this year, and he is a year away from playing. And I feel like it's a big mistake to think of him in terms of what he was 5 years ago. He's not. And it'd be I think any team who would think that he is and signs him with that in mind is going to be really disappointed. And with DeAndre Hopkins, it's basically the same thing. There's some draft pick compensation that's going to be due the Cardinals because he's under contract still. And what do you want to give up? Do you want to give up anything good for him at this point in his career? He's going to be 31 here in a couple months. And then you talk about the contract. The money they're going to have to pay him. I'm sure he's going to want to be paid like a big time receiver. Well, I think that's a mistake too. So, hey, not to say the Chiefs wouldn't do either one of these guys or both, but it would go against everything they've done. It would go against the actions that they've used with every other free agent that they brought in under Brett Veach. And I'd be real surprised if they did either one of them, particularly if it's not at their price. I think if it's at their price, then that might be a different story.
Do they think Tony is that dude? I think Tony has a very, very high ceiling, and I think he can be really, really good. I don't think it has anything to do, to me, the biggest concern, it's his health. Do they think that he can be, guy number one behind Travis Kelce?
Yeah, they think there's that possibility. Now, they're kind of in the business of, having a fallback plan in case that doesn't work for whatever reason, as you say, maybe injuries or whatever. So they need some depth there if that's the plan. Let's see here. I mean, there's plenty of time. There'll be some guys who get cut and come loose. I'm interested to see what they do here. But, definitely they've got work to do at wide receiver, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do, whether it's through the draft, maybe a couple of guys. I mean, you remember Last year they brought in 5 cornerbacks. I mean, it was they were really flooding the cornerback market in the draft. Do they do that at wide receiver this year? I doubt it, but going to be interesting to see how they handle this, no doubt.
Chris Jones extension. Do we think it's coming?
Eventually, yeah, I think it's coming. I think Chris Jones will be signing long term with the Chiefs at some point. But again, you look at the Chiefs' history and their history with these kinds of deals, extending their current veterans, is to wait until summertime, training camp. Get this year's business out of the way, and then worry about next year. And they did that with Mahomes when they signed him to his extension. They did that with Jones the last time around when they signed him to an extension. They did it with Kelsey. So when they signed him to his last extension, so I would expect that's how this would go. But let's see where the Chiefs are. When the draft rolls around. I mean, but I would expect that to be how this goes.
I'm surprised that they wouldn't try to clear up some cap space now in case they wanted to go sign somebody, because his cap hits $29 million. You'd think that's going to drop just the way that they've always done contracts down to at least 15. So it could open up $15 million in cap space for them to go do something. That's why I'm surprised they wouldn't try to do it that before even what they did with Mahomes and move his money around.
Yeah, they have other options for doing that. And, what are your plans? I mean, if you don't plan to sign anybody, no sense, there's no urgency in that. And the Chiefs don't seem to be in any hurry at this point to get any big money free agent type things done. So, it could happen. I'm not saying it won't happen with Chris Jones, but I feel like that won't necessarily have to be a protracted negotiation. But right now, my sense is that it's going to be later rather than earlier.
All righty, last my two questions, two for the road for you, Adam. First one is, what position do you think that the Chiefs will draft in the first round?
Well, I'm going to say wide receiver. I think that's where they'll go right now in the first round. Let's see how the draft breaks and how many players there are there at that position that they like, if any, when they pick. But I'll say wide receiver in the first round.
All righty. And how big of an impact or how big of a deal do you think the draft in Kansas City will be? Do you think people even here in Northeast Kansas, the Kansas City area, are underselling what this in just extravaganza is going to be like?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll do great here. I mean, you talk about, this is the capital of professional football right now. I mean, you had a couple playoffs games here last year. You had the Super Bowl champions play here. You're going to have the season opening game, the Thursday night game played in Kansas City right now. So, I mean, everything's going on that's in Kansas City. It's like the NFL revolves around Kansas City right now. So, yeah, I do think this will be a great event for the city, and hope everybody enjoys, because it should be fun.
Adam, thank you so much for the time, my friend. Have yourself a great weekend. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jake. Good stuff, man. Talk to you next time.
Adam Teicher, ESPN.com. He brings up a great point that they always do their stuff in June.
True.
Or July, I guess. But why not do it now so you got some cap space that if you do want to add somebody?
Yeah. I think there's pros and cons to both. And I mean, for whatever it is, like, we can make all these thoughts about, when are the Chiefs to do X, Y, or Z sooner. It's worked. Their plans have worked. And so I'm at the point now of just, they've run the benefit of the doubt for me. So I'm not going to question whatever the plan is, because they
got it right.
They got something. They have something intentionally that they're doing. It is not that they're being outbid for anybody. It is that they are, I think, actively choosing not to match these prices, which means that they have a plan that they're sticking to. And that has led to Super Bowl championships thus far in the Brett Veach era. And it's led to some really good teams coming together.
Yeah.
So as of now, it's a tiny bit of blind faith, but that's just what it is. At least on my side of the fence here. It'd be nice for them to make some other decisions earlier so you're not kind of waiting on some things, but they've made it work thus far. So there's no reason for me not to think they can't do it again.
We got a lot more to get to. We'll talk more NCAA tournament hoops. Of course, all of our tournament coverage brought to you by Lewis Toyota here in Topeka, I-470 and Fairlawn Shop, local shop Lewis. We'll get to the games that happened yesterday. The old Must Bus kept his shirt on. Gonzaga,
Just
whoa, buddy. Whoa,
that
buddy.
game was something, man.
There were 2 games last night that were just incredible. And one game that definitely was not. We'll get to all of that, and we'll hear from the Florida Atlantic contingent as well as K-State coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. On this Friday, it is going to be our favorite plays from last night's epic game between Kansas State and Michigan State. We'll talk more about the game coming up, including K-State versus FAU tomorrow, 5 o'clock tip-off. All righty, what's your number 4?
Number 4 is the very first play of K-State's offense on the night. Every game should start with a lob. Every game, every offensive set should begin with a lob. I believe that is the best way to start any basketball game.
Number 4, Keontae throwing the ball off the back of a defender.
That's really funny.
And then laying it up and in. Come on, Michigan State. Come on.
You got to pay attention.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention.
Number 4.
Number 3 for me, very simple. It's just 3 from the parking lot. I love myself a good deep 3.
Yeah.
It's just in rhythm. Shot that baby from, down in Manhattan.
Oh, they are in Manhattan.
The other Manhattan.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Got to clarify.
My number 3, the steal at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That took some big guts to try to steal the ball right there, because if they call a foul, he's shooting 3 free throws.
Yeah, because you're probably getting the foul as he's starting to go into the motion, and then you're allowing them to get the 3 there.
Yes.
And that is a gutsy steal attempt in short there. That is insane. Number 2 for me, it's Marquise's banked 3. That thing was just ridiculous in the moment. That was absolutely incredibly hilarious that he just flicked that thing up there and it went off the window.
Number 2 for me is Ish Swish on the inbounds.
Yep, baseline jumper.
I thought that was, I mean, if he doesn't make that, I don't know if K-State wins. So the Ish Swish.
Like that we've given it a name, the Ish Swish. Number 1 for me, I love lobs. They threw an alley-oop in overtime to take the lead with under a minute left, and that thing was amazingly executed perfection. Nothing better than that play last night.
It's not just that it was an alley-oop. He caught it and then reversed it.
He did.
That was impressive.
Everything about it was beautiful.
And they do that with a minute left. It's just it's the same thing that they did in Manhattan against KU.
Yeah, you don't do that in those clutch moments.
Time. 2 of the biggest wins of the year for Kansas State are lob plays that are not high percentage, and they ended up essentially winning the game. Coming up, we will get to a little FAU and K-State. The Florida Atlantic contingent. That's right. Hoo go the Owls. So Fulton having a hard time to determine who he wants to win because we know Fulton, big owl guy we found out yesterday.
Owls are cool.
He is a big owl guy. Big snow owl or barn owl from what?
Snow owls are cool. Barn owls are cool. The great horned owl is cool.
Owls. Very indifferent on owls. But the Owls will take on the Wildcats. We will hear from them coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Also hear from the K-State players coming up at 2:40 when they meet with the media as well. So a lot to get to there. We also will get to some Royals trivia and Royals register to get registered for opening day. Should we do something just completely different?
What'd you have in mind?
Alrighty. If
oh no. Me going, should we do something completely different? And I respond to, what do you have in mind? And Jake's within it. Alrighty. I don't know. The tone's been set that I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So I think the greatest idea in the history of the universe or the worst.
Okay. We're gonna see this. Sorry, KU fans.
Oh no.
You're not gonna be kind of included in this because you probably won't care as much. But because it's our show and we get to make the rules.
Oh yes, truly that's the best part. We get to make all the rules around here.
Okay. If you can tell me how many points Keontae Johnson had last night, you get registered for Royals tickets.
No.
78. You got to text in 785-272-9429. If you can tell me how many points Keontae Johnson had in the game, because nobody's talking about that. It's all about Marquise Noel. How many points did he have? Oh, we have an answer, and we've got one correct from the text line. A lot of people got it correct. Some people didn't. He did not score 20. Did not score 24. He scored how many, Fulton?
Double deuce, 22.
22. So congratulations to the 785 number. I don't want to give out the phone number.
Not gonna have the whole one. We had a
whole
text from the 573. I do want to say sorry for you. You were behind by about 15 seconds. I watched these all roll in. Our friend from the 785, who was the first one, beat our friend from the 573 by, I mean, at most 15 seconds.
I will say this: the first person who chimed in got it wrong. They guessed 20 points. That's incorrect. 573. Where is that?
I can tell you what a 573 area code is.
573 area code. That is in okay. Eastern Missouri.
No,
not the St. Louis area. It looks like.
Okay.
Jeff City, Columbia.
Oh,
shout out Columbia.
I won't say bad things about a certain team in Columbia.
Rolla. Remember I bashed them a while ago.
Yeah. No. Not just bashed. You drove Rolla through the mud.
Hey, they can take that. Their facilities were awful
listen,
when I played there.
I've said many a bad thing about that team that resides in Columbia, but you dragged the city of Rolla through the mud.
No, not the city, the school. The school. I will back that up. When we played there in 2004, it was trash. Smallest damn locker room ever. But congratulations to our texter from the 785. You will go into the Hoppa for a chance at not one but two chances. We're like the Kansas Lottery, the second chance drawing.
Should we do this drawing in the exact right way, which is get enough we can get a decent sized amount of ping pong balls.
Oh, I'm fully
send everybody a number. We get ourselves a little tumbler.
I think we've got.
We can do
here.
this. Do we have a tumbler here?
I think we do. I think
if we have a tumbler, I think we need to do this tumbler style.
Yes, I think we do.
We can stream it on the YouTube channel, Sports on 580. Subscribe if you have not.
So we've got our winner of the contest here to get registered. You haven't won the tickets yet.
No.
You just get an opportunity to get to go to opening day at the Cave. So, Fulton, you need to put that in our hopper. We appreciate everybody.
I will have it set for the hopper.
We'll have another opportunity. It'll be a Royals trivia question because I kind of singled out K-State fans there because no KU fan is going to know that Keontae Johnson dropped 22.
I mean, I knew that.
Yeah, but you're literally on the show.
I know,
it's a computer right there.
It's a little bit different.
So we'll do something in the 2:00 hour for the general KU fans. Okay.
Well, think about the rest of you.
Shout out to Rick Barnes for again continuing to struggle in the NCAA tournament. Shaka Smart, Rick Barnes. Y'all didn't listen to me.
I want to be very clear.
I did not listen to myself either because I picked Tennessee to win just because I thought that they would.
Yeah.
I thought Tennessee would do, and they were in control of the game. And then what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
They gacked it away.
No guard play. Tennessee does not have guard play.
I just want you to know, there are some feelings I have about you, your university, your basketball team that I should not share on live radio waves. But yeah, after that, you can actually, Tennessee, you need to thank the UCLA Bruins for how badly they screwed things up because it took some heat off of you. Which also in reverse too, UCLA, you need to thank Tennessee for taking the heat off of you as well, or I would be feeling these terrible thoughts about UCLA instead.
UCLA played maybe one of the best halves of basketball in a long time,
and then followed up with one of the worst,
but then finished it with some of the best. And that
roller coaster.
Those two games were terrific. Gonzaga had the best player on the court in Drew Timme. but they were up 10 with 2.5 minutes to go and then needed a parking lot 3 to win the game. Like, they gacked it away. They were down by 1 with 20 seconds to go, and they ran the Chris Jenkins play that won the NCAA title for UConn.
That play will never
Nova.
not be fun to watch.
And he shot it from no joke Steph Curry range, and it goes in. And then UCLA ran the Bryce Drew Valpo play.
Yeah.
And it
would have worked if Tiger Campbell didn't lose the ball.
I mean,
well, it could have worked. I'm not going to say would have. Could have
he
worked
got a good
if
shot
Tiger
there.
Campbell had, lost the ball.
I mean, it was an incredible
That
finish. Yes.
Was the best finish of any of the games last night. I think K-State, Michigan State was the best start to finish one. Like, if we're talking all 40 minutes, I think we're talking K-State, Michigan State.
Yeah.
Best finish? Oh, it's Gonzaga, UCLA. Because UCLA went from, oh, well, they're just going to pack it in to, oh, my goodness, Gonzaga, what are you doing?
On the 17-year anniversary of them gacking it to UCLA with Adam Morrison crying.
I officially now need Gonzaga, UCLA to play a game in the tournament every year because they play nothing but bangers.
Yeah, they play great ones. And then Arkansas.
UConn, took Arkansas to the cleaners, which we all kind of knew was going to happen. And then Tennessee just didn't show up. They played a worse half basketball than UCLA did.
Tennessee just doesn't have guard play. And to me, this matchup between Florida Atlantic and Kansas State, a lot of this is going to determine on, to me, more so Florida Atlantic on the offensive side. I think Kansas State is going to score on Florida Atlantic. I do. Florida Atlantic, not great when it comes to forcing turnovers. They're not, big when it comes to size.
Do have a talented 7-footer.
I think this comes down to Florida Atlantic, their 3-point shooting, free throws. This is all on Florida Atlantic. I think if Kansas State plays their game, they should win. I really do think that. I think Kansas State will be, I don't know if they were more talented than Loyola because they didn't have Dean Wade. Back in 2019, they didn't have Dean Wade. That was a big deal. If they would have had Dean Wade, I think they would have beaten Loyola. And in 2010, I think K-State was more talented than Butler. But what happened yesterday, Fulton, that I said cannot happen?
Jake, the game went to an extra 5 minutes.
The game in 2010 against Xavier went to double OT, all right? This was only a single OT. But the numbers do show if you go to OT, coming back from that is very, very difficult. There are two things that are going against Kansas State in this game. One, they don't have the underdog mentality anymore. And then two, they played an overtime game. And I think it took more out of them than Florida Atlantic did against Tennessee. And I guess we'll throw in a third one. What does the ankle feel and look like for Marquise Noel? If Noel was healthy and ends up looking healthy and no issues whatsoever come Saturday at 5:00, and you'll know when he's playing, I think Kansas State's going to win the game. I thought the same thing that Kansas State was going to find a way to beat Michigan State. I thought the same thing that they were going to find a way. They're just finding ways to win right now, and I think that's what they're going to do. And I think defensively, they're going to do their thing. I think they're going to score. If you don't turn over Kansas State, they're going to get their points up. I think this is all about Florida Atlantic on their offensive side. I think that's all that this is. It's can they run enough good action? Can they get, the reason why Michigan State was even in the game to begin with was offensive rebounding. That was it. That's the only reason why Michigan State was in the game against Kansas State, was because of the offensive rebounding. That's where I think Kansas State is going to be at a big advantage in this one. If they rebound, if they just play their normal game, then I think Kansas State ends up winning and they will head to Houston for the Final Four. The games coming up this evening, a lot of people are on all the favorites. This is going to be a fun one to watch because when you look at it, yesterday, 3 underdogs ended up winning. Florida Atlantic, Gonzaga, and Kansas State all won when it comes to the point spread. So if you bet the dogs outside of Connecticut, and if you didn't see Connecticut hammering Arkansas, I can't help you there. But today, Bama is a 7.5 point favorite over San Diego State. Houston is a 7.5 point favorite over Miami. Creighton is a 9.5 point favorite, or beg your pardon, 10.5 point favorite now over Princeton. And Texas is a 4.5 point favorite over Xavier. So 3 of the dogs ended up winning. And right now, it really does look like, actually, Texas now back down to a 3.5 point favorite. Everybody's on Bama. Everybody's on Houston. Everybody's on Creighton. And I want to say the majority of people are on Texas.
I would like to. I would assume so.
And so it is a very heavy favorite day when it comes to hoops.
Would you like a fun betting stat since we bring up the lines here? Since 2012, double-digit seeds versus non-double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16, which we have one of those tonight. 15-seed Princeton against 6-seed Creighton. Do you want to know what double-digit seeds are against the spread in those kind of matchups? They're 13-4-1. Just want to put that out there for those of you that are inclined to put a few shekels on a game.
Say that one more time.
Double-digit seeds versus non-double-digit seeds, which we have a 15 versus a 6. The double-digit seed in the Sweet 16 is 13-4-1 against the spread.
So you're saying bet Princeton 10.5.
Bet Princeton to cover. Now, knowing how things go, it's going to blow up in everyone's faces, and Creighton's going to win by like 50. But at the same time, Princeton can play a slower game. Princeton plays a very intelligent game. Could be interesting. Could be interesting. Just saying.
I like Bama. I think Bama, Houston, Creighton, and Texas all win.
Yeah.
I do. I'm on the favorites to win.
Yeah.
But if I'm a gambling man,
which you are,
which I am,
yeah,
I will take all the dogs except for Texas. I think Texas is that good right now.
You think Texas is just going to just smoke Xavier?
No. I think Texas wins the game by 8 or 9. I think they'll win it
comfortably.
I think Xavier doesn't play enough defense. That's why I'm going with Texas.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
I think 8 points or 7.5 points in Miami, Houston's a bit large, and the reason why that's going to be a low scoring game because Houston plays a low scoring game.
Yeah, they play slow tempo,
and you're going to say that that's tough to do. Bama is young, very young.
San Diego State's got all those old heads.
They're the oldest team left they're the oldest team in the tournament left right now.
Yep.
I think if Bama wins this one, they will beat Creighton or Princeton. So I think this will be the game that could keep Bama out of the Final Four. But I'm going to take Bama to win. But I'll take the Aztecs, the Hurricanes, and the Tigers. 3 dogs, 1 favorite, just like yesterday. 3 dogs, 1 favorite. We'll get a timeout. Coming up next, we'll finish out this 1 o'clock hour, and then we'll hear from Florida Atlantic. In the 2 o'clock hour, the K-State, I'm assuming Keontae Johnson, Marquise Noel, Ish Masood will be up on the dais, along with the head coach, Jerome Tang. That'll be around 1:40 or 2:40, beg your pardon, next hour. At the top of the hour, we will go to the press conference of Dusty May, the head coach of Florida Atlantic. For those of you wondering about Florida Atlantic, what do they do well? They are above average at everything. That's why they went 34-3. Technically, they are better than K-State on offense, and they are the exact same on defense as Kansas State. Florida Atlantic was the 17th ranked team in KenPom, and we're a 9 seed. That's why I almost picked Florida Atlantic to beat Purdue. I will give Brendan a shout out. He picked Florida Atlantic all the way to the Elite Eight. I will give him credit. The Owls were good. Like, no one should be stunned that they are where they're at. This is a good basketball team, and they absolutely ran through Conference USA. And actually, Conference USA might not be that bad of a league.
The top teams in it are pretty good.
Well, 2 of them are still playing.
Yeah, North Texas is a darn fine team.
Yeah, they're in the NIT semifinals, I believe.
I believe so.
So that is not a stunner. But man, if K-State loses to FAU, Butler, Loyola, and FAU kept K-State from a Final Four. I mean, you can't write that.
No, Wildcat fans are going to hate
that
mid-majors for forever.
Oh, man. Coming up next, though, we'll hear from Dusty May, head coach of FAU. Up for this week, and before hopefully on Monday at noon, the Cats are going to Houston. Houston means I'm one step closer to you. There we go. Hopefully we got a lot to get to this hour. You're a chance to get registered for another pair of, or get registered for one of the 2 opening day ticket giveaways that we'll be giving away coming up next week. So be listening. We also have On Second Thoughts. We got a lot to get to. As always, let us know on the text line, 785-272-9429. But we're going to head to Madison Square Garden. It is the press conference for Florida Atlantic head coach Dusty May. Here is that press conference.
First experience here, and I wasn't sure, had you ever been part of a coaching staff that had been here prior to that?
Actually, I was at UAB preseason NIT. We upset Arizona in Tucson to come here and play Blake Griffin and those guys in Boston College with Tyrese Rice, and the NIT later changed the rule, so the higher seeds came here automatically. So we feel like we were partially to blame for the Blazers being here in the Garden for changing the preseason NIT rules. So we played really well, didn't find a way to beat Blake and those guys with Oklahoma, but had a great experience. And then obviously the last one, we feel like we left a great opportunity, not advancing to the Final Four, but it's part of the experience.
For the people who are, not from the Southeast and maybe are sort of just catching on to who you guys are and the way that you guys play, if they were to ask, how did this happen at Florida Atlantic? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that we were on the verge. I've told everyone we were on the verge last year. We won 19 games and Nick Boyd was out all season, and Nick only averaged 5 or 6 as a freshman 2 years ago. He was out. BJ missed a lot of time, and we invented ways to lose last year. So we felt like we had a 20 to 25 win team last year. If we just clean up a few possessions, we really did a deep dive in the offseason about why we lost those games, and was very intentional every minute of every day about fixing those things. And if we felt like we did that, we would be really, really good. Now, 30, however many wins we have, I lose track. I don't pay attention that much, to be honest, other than conference standings. Whatever it is, we never envisioned this, but we knew we had a special group. And if we cleaned up a few things, we'd have a chance to win a lot more games.
We're going to go across the way to my right on the end of the aisle, and then we'll start coming down the aisle here.
Hey, Coach. Tim Everson, Manhattan Mercury. I was trying to square your guys' timeline, and I wasn't 100% sure. Would you have intersected at all with Keontae Johnson whenever you were at Florida there at the end of your tenure?
Yeah, I watched him a lot at IMG his junior year, and then saw him a little bit at Oak Hill, and then obviously his official visit when we signed him and spent time with him and his family. So I know Keontae well. My oldest son, Jack, is a walk-on at Florida, and he was his teammate, very close friend. So they had a couple great moments last night as well.
And what was kind of your biggest takeaway from him?
He played like a 35-year-old veteran at 18 years old. The game is really, really slow in his mind, and that's very unique when you consider his size, strength, length, athleticism, shooting ability, his ability to drive the basketball. He's just a really unique talent.
We're going to start on the aisle. We're going to start in the back on the right side, and then we'll go across the aisle. So back row. Yep. We'll work our way up.
Adam Killer with the Washington Post. I've got 2. That's okay. You just mentioned, you said all you ever wanted to do is be a high school basketball coach in Indiana. Why? So where'd that idea come from when you were younger?
No one in my family ever played basketball. My mom signed me up when I was young, and something about this game, I became obsessed with it from the very first minute I ever played it. She made me wear sweatpants because I had so many floor burns. I was so aggressive, and I just wanted to be like my high school coach. That was it.
And you're talking to folks you've worked with or worked for. One thing that they kind of mention a lot is your kind of capacity for work. What is your approach to that, and kind of where do you think that might come from?
Well, blue collar family, hard work is rooted in who we are. We take a lot of pride in our work ethic back home in Southern Indiana. And then I love basketball. So none of it feels like work. Watching film, studying leadership, getting in the gym, it feels like a hobby that I get paid to do. So I think all that stuff is very overblown because I enjoy doing it.
We'll stay in that back row on the other side of the aisle. Nope. There you go.
Hey, Dusty. Justin Rose, Sports News Highlights. To be one of the 8 teams left, you saw it with you guys in Kansas State last night. You have to have that special thing. And every team maybe has it a little bit of a different, whether it's, trials and tribulations throughout the season, great players, something. What is it with your team, would you say, is your it factor?
What they just said, the anonymity, embracing it. We have no one that's searching for the spotlight, making it about them. We all make it about us every single minute of every single day. Great example, Mike Forrest was in a little bit of a slump. He walks in the locker room last night and we're all chanting, Mikey, Mikey, Mikey. We're so happy for him to break out. He stops everyone and thanks his teammates for being so positive the last few games while he was down. Everyone's always thinking about the guy to the left and to the guy to the right. and you guys are crossed up, but you get my message.
All right, we'll come up one row on the right side. Yep.
Jeff Borzello, ESPN. When you first watched Marquise Noel's film, if you watched any of it last night or this morning, I'm assuming you did, was there a player that popped into your mind when watching him? And then also, what do you think is the biggest key in slowing him down tomorrow?
Well, I watched them a lot this season because I enjoy watching that team play. They play the right way. They share it. They're enjoyable to watch. And as a coach, that's the greatest compliment when you'll turn on a TV and watch a team play. So I watched them a lot. So very familiar, and obviously watching Keontae. Last night, I mean, he put on a show. Just his ability to score, to impact every single possession. We're not even talking about his defensive ability, his steals, his quick hands, his quick feet, his anticipation. He just impacts winning every single possession of every single game. And for him to sprain his ankle, come back in and play at whatever capacity he was, and to do the things he did, it just shows how special he is as far as heart.
We'll come up a few more rows on the right side here. Yep.
Hey, Dusty, Tom D'Angelo, Palm Beach Post. Dusty, when Keontae went through his episode, I wondered how that impacted you, what you recall your emotions were that day, and did you have any conversations with him or people around him following that?
I talk to Mike White every day. Their entire staff, a couple of the guys on their staff now used to work with me here at FAU. So my son was on the team. My wife was probably at that game. It's hard for me now, like, to watch. He showed it on SportsCenter yesterday. I got to go.
We'll go on the other side of the aisle. Same row. Yep. And then we'll keep coming up.
Hey, Dusty, Tom Canavan with the AP. I asked the question to the players, how do you shut down Noel? I mean, how do you take away his vision?
You don't shut him down. You try to make him score inefficiently. You try to challenge every pass, every passing lane with anticipation, with our athleticism. But you don't stop a guy like that. You just hope to make him inefficient on that particular night.
We'll come back up. We're going to start in the front of the aisle, and we'll work these two, and then we'll go to the back.
Hey, Coach Alec Bussey, Rivals. You've talked a lot about defending Marquise Noel, but he's kind of shown of late here that when you double him, he's just quick enough to dribble around it. When you're preparing for a player who's that quick, what kind of strategies can you use to take away some of their speed?
Well, you have to pick your poison with him, and you have to choose best angles possible. And we talk about him and Keontae all the time, but their supporting cast are good, and they have a perfect mix of shooting and then guys that can play above the defense. So if you turn your head with his playmaking skills and give him too much attention, now they're throwing lobs, as they've proven all year they're able to do. So you have to pick your poison, decide what you're going to live with. And like I said, just try to make them as inefficient as possible. Because when you have the range, the mid-range, the floaters to the rim, the passing, the left and right hand, he has no holes in his game, and he's going to find a solution to whatever coverage you're in. So we'll probably have to switch up some coverages. Hopefully we don't, but players like that typically make you.
All right, one row back on that side, and then we'll come to the other side of the aisle.
Hey, Dusty, Zach Weinberger, Palm Beach Post. Just talking about facing K-State, and you mentioned you were telling the story to your guys about sort of being gassed out in your prime coaching career. Do you feel like that's kind of the benefit of having a 8-9 man rotation where you can kind of get guys in and out and just kind of stay fresh?
Yeah, the 8-9 man rotation, it provides a lot of advantages. I think it's scouting us on a short notice, which guy is which. Some of them are left-handed, some of them are right-handed, and these things are happening very quickly, fast in our game. We used it more in Columbus because after we won the first game against Memphis, it was emotional. Our guys knew they were going to be the favorite against FDU. We didn't want them on their phones feeling too great all night. We wanted them, hey, let's enjoy this. Enjoy this moment with your family, friends. Let's turn the phones off and get our rest. You'll thank us later. Hold your roommate accountable. Because a lot of us, if the guy is sitting over here, if I can hold him accountable, he holds me accountable, we go a lot further. And so we used that last weekend, and then we did it again last night. We just, we have such great leadership in our locker room. I saw Giancarlo, we walked off the bus together, and Rosado's one of the best leaders I've been around. I said, gee, let's make sure our phones are off by 2. It was 1 a.m. Let's enjoy this next hour. By 2, let's make sure our phone's off and we're getting some rest, because tomorrow's a huge day for preparation.
All right, other side of the aisle there, one row back.
Richard Johnson, Sports Illustrated. Dusty, when you're together with them and the phones are off and Sports Center's off and all that stuff, how much can you play the nobody believed in us thing after you win the conference championship, beat Tennessee like you did last night, win these games, and advance far enough in this tournament?
We don't talk about those that don't believe in us. That's not why we play. That's not why we do what we do. That's not why we work. All those things are something that we can't control. We can control what we do every single day. And when you talk about dream season, this isn't a dream season because we're 34-3 or 33, whatever we are. It's a dream season because of how these guys are every single day. And we won 20 games in a row, and these guys didn't change up a bit. They were more determined. They had better attitudes. They shared the spotlight even more during that. So we're prepared for this moment because of it's really difficult as an 18 to 20-year-old to go through that long of a stretch while you're the hunted and continue to fight off every challenger, especially in our league, which has proven to be incredibly difficult.
We'll go into the very back, just off the aisle on the right side.
Michael Cohen from Fox Sports. Dusty, I know when you broke into the business, the transfer portal didn't exist, but I'm wondering if you think there's any correlation between changing jobs every couple of years, which means you have to learn a new set of players and develop relationships with them very quickly, and then finding success in the portal now that it does exist because those recruitments are so brief and you're gelling a large number of guys quite quickly.
It's very difficult, and some coaches are really good at it. I think the coaches that have a junior college background that they're probably more accustomed to filling a roster every year. I'm probably not as good at it. I really enjoy the relationship piece. Usually freshmen and I butt heads for 1 year, and then we have a great relationship for 3. It's just kind of how it's worked out. Obviously we're going to use it at time. We're still going to recruit high school players. We're going to recruit junior college players. We're going to recruit the players that are best for us, whether it's the transfer portal or whatever case.
We'll come back up front to Andy.
All right, truth serum here. Before Conference USA tournament, how concerned were you that you could get an at-large bid?
Probably not concerned enough. Felt like we were in before Conference USA tournament. I had a good friend say, I wouldn't lose the first one if I were you. And I was like, wait a minute, we're not in. So I was probably a little bit, I probably should have been more concerned.
Do we have any more questions for Coach May? Okay. Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
So that is head coach Dusty May of FAU. See, and that's stupid. The fact that they weren't in the tournament. They went 31-3. And they weren't going to be an automatic at-large bid. Even if they lost the first round of the tournament. They were 31-3. That's a really good basketball team. They were going to beat Purdue. See, that's the other thing, too, is I see that, Florida Atlantic had to go through, they got lucky, they didn't have to play Purdue. They were gonna beat Purdue. Purdue stink.
Purdue couldn't beat Fairleigh Dickinson. I don't know how well they would have played against Florida Atlantic.
It's different. Like if Virginia beat UMBC and then played Kansas State, Virginia would probably gonna beat Kansas State. To me, the FDU upset is more startling than Virginia and UMBC. One, because Virginia was not fully healthy. They didn't have DeAndre Hunter. That was a big deal. Way Virginia plays, and now that we know that Virginia loses a lot during the first round of the tournament,
so does Purdue.
That's one misconception about Purdue. Yeah, they lost to a 15 seed last year in the Sweet 16. Like they made it, so they didn't lose in the first round last year. Okay,
Year before that they did though.
That's what's skewed with all of that is they're like, yeah, Purdue lost to a 16 seed and a 15 seed. Yeah, they lost in the Sweet 16 though last year. I mean,
but is it worse to lose to a 15 in the Sweet 16?
No, it isn't. Just you got to the Sweet 16. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And St. Peter's was on.
They were on a
epic
heater.
Epic run, man. Epic run.
They were on a heater.
So I think FAU is probably going to beat Purdue anyways.
Yeah.
Like Purdue was not good. They weren't. FDU shouldn't even have been in there. Merrimack should have been in there, but because of stupid NCAA rules. Did you see Charles Barkley last night?
Oh, what Chuck do this time?
So the new president's like, yeah, you know what? We got to get this thing figured out. And, I'm gonna talk to, Washington, D.C. And then Chuck, after the interview, said, this is stupid. Why do we need those guys ruining everything? He goes, no, you don't need Washington, D.C. They're a bunch of crooks, every one of them. He's like, Republicans, Democrats, they all stink. He just went hard on everybody. And he goes,
Love you, Chuck.
You bring in smart basketball people. I thought that was funny. I really, really did. Right now, we're going to wait and hear from K-State. They're going to be up on the dais coming up in about 20 minutes. We will get to that coming up. The Royals made some news today. Here's your chance, Royals fans, to get registered for opening day tickets. Matt Quatraro announced the opening day starter. Who's the opening day starter? First one to text in who the Royals opening day starter is, you have a chance to go see that opening day starter. I haven't even mentioned it. So this is something you actually have to know.
It's actually true. We somehow have actually not said this on air today.
Yeah, it's because K-State was more
I
important.
mean, yeah,
right
they
now.
were. So actually, this is actually information you're going to have gotten from somewhere else.
785-272-9429.
Who's starting opening day?
Who is starting opening day? First person to text that in. Bam! We've got a winner already.
Hit him with the Mike Breen double bang.
So, that is correct. From the 620. Zach Greinke, your opening day starter for the Kansas City Royals.
I want to appreciate all the people we've gotten to put into the Tumblr so far. All different area codes, at least for mic'd up
So
selections.
would you say that we've got different in different area codes? We got listeners in every area codes. See what I did there?
I'm just sometimes you say things and they're like not terrible, like they're not horrible. But there's still things that make me go, why?
I didn't say anything bad. I did not say anything bad. But no, congratulations. Zach Greinke is third opening day starter for the Kansas City Royals. Third time he's going to start opening day for the Kansas City Royals. Why is Zach Greinke over Brady Singer? Brady Singer not stretched out. And because of the days that he's going to pitch. So it's going to be Zach Greinke starting on opening day for the Kansas City Royals.
Want some other Royals pitching news just while we're here? It's a lot more annoying pitching news.
Does it involve Daniel Lynch?
It does.
Okay, hit me with it.
Daniel Lynch, it's not been made officially official, but Daniel Lynch will likely be starting the season on the injured list. He left his start yesterday with some pain in his shoulder. It's been deemed a left shoulder strain. He's likely not to pitch or not to throw. Just not to throw for the next 7 to 10 days, and will likely be starting the year on IL. So, no Lieutenant Dan in the lineup for a little bit.
So, with no Daniel Lynch, who was going to be in the opening day roster,
Probably would have been in the rotation.
Yes. Here is what Annie Rogers, covers the Royals beat for MLB.com, says this: the Royals haven't announced the rotation, but this could slide Chris Bubich back in. Greinke, Lyles, Singer, Keller to be locks. So that means Yarbrough in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Hernandez going to make in the bullpen after what we saw in the WBC?
I think that's his best spot long term.
You gave up on him, you know?
Yeah. I think Carlos Hernandez's best long-term future is as a reliever. I've moved a little bit off. Like, I think maybe there's a path you could eventually get into be a starter again. I don't know. The fact of the matter is, as of right now, if you can just fix the way his fastball plays, which in the WBC, it was playing a lot different.
Very well.
You know, if you're throwing 100 with good life and a pretty good breaking ball, Just put that in the pen and good luck to you. Because that's what he did in the WBC, and he was carving everyone.
Chris Bubich.
Good old Bubich.
Granke, Lyles, Singer, Keller, and Lynch would not have been terrible to start the opening day as your starting rotation. And, of course, the bullpen, the usual cast of characters. Scott Barlow, Aroldis Chapman, Josh Tomant, Adam Yarbrough,
Dylan Coleman,
DC.
Yeah.
Who's Pablo Lopez?
The Minnesota Twins' opening day starter, Mr. Pablo Lopez.
I have no idea who Pablo
Lopez
Lopez
good old Pablo has been pitching for the Miami Marlins. Their second best pitcher, I'd say.
Time out.
Yeah.
That's justifiable why I don't know Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, he's pitching Miami.
Because he's been pitching Miami. Because they traded...
Do you know who they traded to get Pablo?
They traded...
Come on, Jake, you know this.
Who was good on the Twins?
More than a handful of people.
That they traded for. They traded for... Give me a position. I don't know.
He played first base for them last year. So he spent majority of his time as at first base. But he's also played second base a lot.
The batting champ, Luis Ariz.
Correct. Luis Ariz was traded to Miami for Pablo Lopez. Also, not just Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez and some prospects for Luis Ariz. It was a weird trade.
I mean, he did hit like 500 last year.
Luis Ariz was not worth the haul that Minnesota got.
Well, technically he was, because that was the going rate.
And that is what Miami was willing to pay. I've been in the camp that I think Miami overpaid for Luis Ariz, and I also don't know what Miami's doing with their lineup, but who knows? Pablo Lopez has been pitching in Miami. He's been their second best pitcher for a while behind Sandy Alcantara. Good command. Not devastating stuff. Like, he doesn't throw 100-some, doesn't have like a wicked breaking ball, but all very like plus pitches, all very good pitches. It is really good command. Does not walk a lot. But the Twins needed a pretty good frontline starter, and Pablo Lopez is the guy they wanted. Twins rotation has a chance to be nasty this year.
And they're going to get rocked opening day.
I wouldn't complain.
What's the bet we got again? They got to get to 7 wins by April.
I believe, actually, I get so many few mentions. I can actually find really quickly what it was. Yes. The Royals had to get 6 wins by April 13th.
It was 7.
The tweet, I'm staring this tweet down right now.
Yeah.
It is 6. Your words. We have a wager. Fulton has the Royals getting 6 wins before April 13th, their first true off day. I say no way. What say you? You on Team Jake or Team Fulton? I am staring at that.
Did we say you had to win 7 or just 6? Is 6 a push?
I think 6 is I win. I'm staring at I said 6. I'll go back to the audio.
Oh, we might have to.
I'll pull up the tape.
We might have to.
God, when was that? That was back on March 3rd. Okay, it's about March 3rd show. Wow, 3 weeks ago, exactly from today. Wow. Yeah, I'll pull up the audio just to confirm, but I believe it was they need to have 6 by March 13th.
I think
first off day.
I thought it was over, like the line was 6 because
no, I think I said they would get because you I believe what happened.
Because wasn't it
what had happened was
there was the winning streak that they were on. They had won 6 or 7 in a row.
Yeah, they'd done something. You were like, how long is it going to take them? And I had just pointed out that they had like 6 or 7 wins or something like that near a later part in the year last time. And I looked at the schedule, and I think they could be like 6 and 7 by that point was, I think, my math. So that's where like I said 6. Your tweet says 6. The number is 6. Then I will also say,
we'll go to the tape. And
we'll go to the tape. And then
factor.
we also had a texture button, a good point of like, should we make it by X amount of games, not days, because of things? And Jake, being a jerk,
said
that sucks.
That is not being a jerk. That is
Jake finding a loophole to guarantee that he wants to stack the deck in his favor. Jake wants to play the role of the big bad bully and doesn't want the little guy to get a chance here. He's the Tom Izzo to my Marquise Noel.
No, this is actually
he's the John Calipari to my Marquise Noel.
Complete
just stacking the deck because he doesn't want to admit that the little guy can win.
No, it is more you, my friend, did not put enough detail into the contract that you signed, therefore let yourself open for it.
And I will say, a better man would be so confident in himself that he's right to go, I don't care, be like, oh, I'll give you an easy rate and I would still win.
Do you think this is going to work? Like you're trying to guilt trip me?
I am just saying a better man would have worked with me on this.
You are right.
I'm just saying a more confident man wouldn't be nickel and diming. So
you are correct.
Jake is a lesser man with no confidence. Correct. That's all I'm saying.
A lesser man who probably might win because of it. Coming up next, we've got our edition of On Second Thought, which that might be Fulton's. He would like a do-over on the wager we had. We'll get to that coming up next. Alrighty, on second thought, Fulton, what are you going with?
I really hate the Tennessee Volunteers.
That was a deep sigh, man.
I really hate the Tennessee Volunteers. I really thought they were like, I didn't think they were like going to cruise last night. But my entire thing was like, if K-State beats Michigan State, they're going to have a tough battle against Tennessee. I was like, that's going to be the thing they're going to deal with on Saturday. Can you get past that Tennessee defense? Because, there's just no way that Tennessee loses to Florida Atlantic. Good story, Owls, but this is where it ends. I forgot that Rick Barnes exists and that he's just doesn't know how to win big games and that Tennessee doesn't know what offense is. I really hate Tennessee. I hate them less because UCLA also lost. But they were the first ones domino to fall, so that's where my hatred is centralized.
Well, all right then.
Darn Tennessee.
How far did you have Marquette going?
Don't talk to me.
No, I don't know.
Marquette was in my title game.
What are you doing, Fulton?
Because I assumed we were early enough in the Shaka cycle that everything was still working. It was all still good. The offense was going to be fine. And that they would be able to make it that far before it all started to fall apart. I was obviously wrong. Yeah, I'm never picking Shaka Smart to win an NCAA tournament game ever again. I'm never picking Rick Barnes to win an NCAA tournament game ever again.
And Virginia. Look at that.
And Virginia.
Look at that.
Never trust Virginia.
Heck, half your bracket's filled out already next year.
Yep.
There you go.
I don't care who they're playing. I'm picking those teams to lose.
Yesterday at halftime of the K-State or of the UCLA Gonzaga game, I tweeted out,
yeah, you did.
Man, UCLA UConn's going to be a heck of a game. I don't know who's going to win that one.
Can't do things like that, Jake.
I thought I might have gotten freezing cold take. I thought that might occur. And then UCLA basically scored 17 points, but then I almost was right.
You were,
but then I was not right.
And then you were wrong.
And then I was wrong. So that did not work out well at all. I thought Gonzaga was left, and I'm happy because you're ready for this. If Texas makes the Final Four, or Gonzaga makes the Final Four, or if either one of them, actually, I need one of them to, or one of them gets to the Final Four, or if Texas gets to the Elite Eight, I win our family pool.
Good for you.
So I'm excited about that.
As you should be.
So Gonzaga beats UConn. I don't think they will. Or if Texas gets to the Final Four, and maybe depending upon numbers, if Texas just gets to the Elite Eight, I think actually it's if Texas wins and Houston loses, champion. So go Texas, go Hurricanes. Big Nigel Pac-Man right now. Big fan. Coming up next, we'll get a quick timeout and we will head to Madison Square Garden for K-State's media availability. Forward to the weekend as K-State will be in action coming up tomorrow. 5:09 tip-off against Florida Atlantic. 4 o'clock pregame coverage right here on your home for K-State Athletics. All of our NCAA tournament coverage brought to you by Lewis Toyota, I-470 and Fairlawn. Shop local, shop Lewis. We are going to hear from the Kansas State Wildcats. They are running a bit behind. By the way, did you see Mick Cronin, his opening statement yesterday when they lost?
I did not.
Mick Cronin, why did it take 35 minutes for me to get here? He ain't wrong.
No, he's not.
He ain't wrong. I promise you they could have just put him up there.
Yeah.
That was his opening statement. I don't know why it took 35 minutes for me to get here. Why couldn't I just talk?
I get it.
Who do you got? K-State, FAU.
I'm going to lean on what's been my deciding factor in a lot of close games this tournament. Which team is going to have the best player on the floor? Best player on the floor is going to be Marquise Noel. So I think K-State gets the win.
I'm with you. I think I'm going against, an ankle injury. I'm going against overtime play.
Listen, at this point, after what I've seen from two local area teams with ankle injuries in big spots the last few months, I am done believing that ankles will stop any superstar.
No disagreement there.
Watch my favorite quarterback win a Super Bowl on one foot. I think Marquise Noel can get his team to a Final Four on a bummy ankle.
I mean, they have no correlation.
Oh, not at all. Not an ounce. Not an ounce of correlation. Not a single moment of that connected to each other at all. But still, point stands.
Yeah, I think K-State. I can't believe it. I think K-State is. I think tomorrow night, if you are bored, head to Aggieville.
Yeah.
Aggieville going to be absolutely
pandemonium.
As the youths say, lit.
Do the youths still say lit?
No, apparently Ish Masood said that is OD fire. What does that mean?
I don't know. I have zero idea. I wasn't hip when I was one of the youths. Lord knows I'm not with it now. I've never been in the know of all the cool young language.
Okay, here you go. OD fire. OD fire is when a male or female is so hot that they kill the other person. It's an overdose of such intense heat. The other person has died.
Kids today, man, they say the darndest things.
OD fire. I like that though.
Gonna start using that more?
Absolutely not.
Gonna add it to your vocabulary?
I had to Google what OD fire was.
If you have to Google what the term means, you're too old to use the term.
So washed. So washed, People are like, yeah, man. I used to have a little swag.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I used to have a little swag.
Okay.
Little. Here's the swag that I have now. I don't wear cargo shorts.
Okay.
Which my wife appreciates.
Okay, good.
Number 2, I don't have the Air Monarchs.
Yeah.
I'm not fully dad there. I don't have the Pete Carrolls or the Steph Currys.
Yeah.
And I don't wear, mid-calf white socks straight up. So that's basically what, and I don't have the New Balances that dads wear.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit more hip than that. I would like to think that.
That's fair.
But I did Google what does
OD Fire
and that, because that's what Ish Masood was asking his friends on the K-State social media team is crushing it right now. And he was going around trying to see if they knew what New York slang was.
Oh boy.
And he asked, I don't remember who it was, Dorian Finister, I believe, about, do you know what that means? And he had to explain what it meant. I didn't know technically what it meant because I didn't know. He said something like hip and slang that I didn't know either, but I ended up,
We're not hip, Jake.
No. Oh,
we're not.
See, I have an excuse though. What's your excuse?
I'm a loser.
I was not ready for that.
Man, I can't even deliver that with a fully serious. No, my excuse is I've never been that person. Like I am.
Oh I am. You need to cut that audio. Holy cow!
You need to clip that to the stream. No, like my excuse is I've never like been the hip in the know guy. I mean, I'm as nerdy as a nerdy guy can come. We're not known for being hip dudes.
I can tell you were, when you said I'm a big owl guy,
Owls are cool.
Are they?
Yes.
All right. They're what you think an owl is cooler than an eagle?
I think they're comparable. Like eagles are cool.
Owls literally bring nothing to the table.
Owls are cool big birds.
They're
Even though
not-
there are some owls that are smaller birds.
Most of them are not big.
They're cool big birds.
You don't even see them. They're nocturnal. Nobody said, "Oh gosh, you can't."
How
wait
many
to go
times
see
have
that."
you seen an eagle in your life?
One of the coolest eagle experiences I've ever had in my life.
Mhm.
I'm fishing at Lake Perry. Okay, this was probably about like 10 years ago, and there was an eagle.
Was it a bald eagle?
Yeah,
or okay.
bald eagle.
Yeah,
and he's flying up, and we all stopped fishing because we're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh, yeah,
and
bald
then
eagle.
this eagle drops down and lightly touches the top of the water, snags a monster fish,
And then takes off.
No, the fish weighed too much.
Oh,
and
that
so
sucks.
it dropped the eagle down, and the eagle then expanded his wings like it looked like it was reaching from like sky to sky,
Mhm.
and like started pumping his arms so heavily, and it flew this big fish all the way to its nest, a little bit into from the lake. It was one of the most awesome like things I've ever seen. I never seen an owl do that because no one sees owls. They're they just sit there.
They're very cool. Owls are cool. Eagles are also cool. I've also seen a bald eagle while fishing. It was a good time. Seen some falcons. Those are cool.
Did you catch anything?
That time, yes, Jake.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Phil. That was 15. That's 15.
Such a
I got a
jerk.
15-yard penalty.
You are such a jerk.
That was not nice.
No.
We were planning on airing because it says that they're supposed to air the K-State press conference on from Madison Square Garden at 2:40.
Big surprise though that they're running behind
to 4:20. But they are not doing it right now.
No, they are behind.
So we'll take a quick time out. We'll finish things off coming up next here on Mic'd Up. I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
this is house money for Kansas State. Because nobody expected them to get to the Elite Eight. Not a single person did. And so if they lose, I think that it'll be more so that the last 3 trips that they've gone to the Elite Eight, they've lost, and it's been to a mid-major. I think that's where it'll be more of a
Bit of a bummer.
Cumulative reason to be bummed.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking about solely this year, if they lose Saturday, I don't know if K-State fans, they'll to me it'll be kind of the old cliche sappy saying of, don't cry because it ended, smile because it happened.
Yeah.
I think that's more what it's going to be.
That's what I'd say.
Because this is something that this is just all positive. I just wanted them to beat Montana State. Hey,
yeah,
everything after that is absolutely gravy. But I think this feels different. It almost feels like this is a team of destiny.
Yeah.
This feels like this is supposed to happen. Guys from New York City, there are 4 of them on the team, are going to play well, and they're going to take this team. First-year coach. Kansas State hadn't been there since '64. I mean, it just feels like this is a team right now of destiny from where they started. 2 players on scholarship on the roster to the Final Four. That's what it feels like. So I think K-State's going to win. I like the Cats. I think it's going to be the Cats, Bama, Texas, and I picked Gonzaga.
Are you joining me in feeling the Huskies?
I think it's the Huskies.
Huskies team is good.
I think the Huskies are going to win it. But I wouldn't be upset if Gonzaga makes it there.
No.
That doesn't bother me.
We get another chance to watch 45-year-old Drew Timmy play basketball.
Coming up next, Dan and Brendan have you for 580 Sports Talk. We've got the K-State game coming up tomorrow, 4 o'clock pregame coverage, 5 o'clock with the tip-off from MSG. It should be a great one. We'll talk to you on Monday. We'll be giving away Royals tickets, all of that good stuff coming up on Monday at noon. Here's hoping we'll have a good victory Monday for the Cats. Have yourselves a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.